Welcome to the Play-Based Learning Podcast. I'm your host, Kristen R.B. Peterson, and maybe your new teacher bestie that is here to hype you up, maybe give you a motivating kick in the pants, and teach you all I know about play and childhood. I am here to help you challenge old and outdated practices and inspire you to create a truly developmentally appropriate early childhood environment that fosters creativity, curiosity, and joy in the children that you care for. Let's set the stage for a lifelong love of learning. Let's get going. Beth Duttera is joining me for the Play-Based Learning Podcast, and we are chatting all things autism today. Welcome, Beth.
Hello, how are you? I'm very excited.
I'm so excited too. So I'm going to just kind of give you a little background on why I thought it was important to have you on. Yeah. So I had a program. I was the founder of a play and nature-based preschool in Minnesota. And we had children ages 3, 4, and 5. And we had a staff that was not, we didn't have any teachers who had any sort of background or training or special education background as far as schooling. And therefore, when we had kiddos who would come in who were maybe undiagnosed with anything, and we just, there's like signs and there's things that we look for, and like, there was things that we could kind of see, but we obviously can't diagnose anyone. So it's trying to like tippy toe with the parents, because a lot of times parents don't even know these things, because like if it is their new parents, it might be their firstborn child. That's all they've had experience with. So they don't know that, like, hey, we can probably be getting your child a little bit more support here and whatnot. So it always became this like sticky situation where we could kind of see that maybe that child needed a little bit more support than what we could offer, but it was really hard to have those conversations with the parents. So maybe we can chat a little bit about that today.
Do you mind if I cut you off and talk about that?
Absolutely, please do.
Okay, I do not think your school is the only place. What I am finding, so I have 90 pages of just voices and stories. 300 teachers or so have answered it. Nobody has any education on this.
Yeah.
And God forbid we tell parents that we don't have any information on it, because then administrative is like, what the hell? Of course, you can't. Yeah. And they get mad at us for trying to talk to the parents about it, but we should.
Yeah.
So, yes. Anyways, yes, more should be talked about and open, and yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, maybe can you give us a little background on yourself? And because I was reading a little bit on your Instagram, I came across the post, and it was just a vulnerable, this is me, but this page isn't about me type of post. And in that post, you said that you, and I didn't read it fully, so I don't know what age you were diagnosed. But you did mention that you were nonverbal until the age of 3. So would you be willing to share a little bit about your own personal story with us?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Again, cut me off if I go on too soon. So I was diagnosed in my 30s.
Okay.
Believe it or not. But I had so many of these traits. Like I was saying, I was nonverbal.
Yeah.
I would elope. I had all my toys were lined up. Like everything was, yep.
Yeah.
That. But of course, my parents did not know. Just like you're referring to. Parents don't know. And my mom always knew something was wrong. So I did get a lot of speech around 3. And I remember back then it was like the 90s. So it wasn't like your speech now, gentle, nice, great. It was like my mom would come back and be like, you better talk to her. I'm paying all this money.
Yeah.
Nothing bad about my mom, but she was like, I'm paying all this money.
Yeah.
So that happened. I started talking. I got diagnosed ADHD in elementary school. And with that, I got a social disorder. So really, autism was the missing piece of it all. And had my parents known had we known, it would have been so much different, the trajectory. And that's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
early education is so necessary for those supports and just everything. But it's all hush, hush. Because
Yeah, why?
I don't know if we said I'm a preschool teacher too, but yeah. So in the environments I have been in, or this, like the data of teachers I'm getting, we're all, God forbid, we say we're not educated in this because that shows we're weak. We feel guilty and shame for not knowing.
Yes, absolutely. I
So,
felt that.
and it's not our fault. We
Yeah.
want the best for our kids. We want all the information, but we don't have it. And again, we can't say it to our bosses or anything because it'll be like, what? We
Yeah.
might lose our jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you just
Zip
don't
it.
say anything, just keeping the pace, trying to get by. Um, so I think that's a huge, huge issue that you, myself, no one is alone in that. We are all like, how do I get more information? And I also feel like I've worked with a lot of autistic students, and they come with like special ed, speech,
Yeah.
occupational therapists, and they all come in and out of my class. And even they are so overwhelmed with the burden. And so what I see is they expect teachers to know and do our parts with the IEPs because they think we know, but
Yeah.
they don't know that we don't know either. You know,
Yes.
like I don't know much about IEP writing and stuff, and it's embarrassed to say it, but I'm sure I'm not the only one.
You're not. I don't know how to write an IEP.
Wait, and do you want to know?
No, no.
I'd love to, one, help these children, and
Yes.
two, make the classroom flow better, make my
Yes.
life easier, you know? So that's one thing. I think these sped teachers are like it's the teacher's role, and the teachers are saying, it's more the sped role. So
Yeah.
it's sort of, and I don't think anyone's at fault. What I think an all to ask is trying to come to is we need more outside help. We
Yes.
can't put any loads on anyone else on these teams. Like it's
Yeah.
not up to us. We need someone from the outside, anyone else to help us.
Yeah. So like who would those outside people be? Do you have ideas of who they would be?
But I would think I would love to see more autistic people,
Yes.
adults like in education. I would love to see us have more education like in our continuate education or the CDA or whatever your certification is. Autism is never discussed. It's discussed just a little, but it's almost like it's wrong to talk about it, you
Yeah.
know? And it's not like I'm autistic. It's okay. I'm happy. You
Yeah.
know?
And I wanted to circle back to something that you said, because this might have been like a subconscious thing
Yeah.
that you didn't even realize that you said, but you said something about how your mom is like, I know, like my mom knew there was something
Yeah.
wrong. But
Yes.
I just wanted to let you know that like I don't feel that there's anything wrong with anyone who has neurodivergency. Like I am a
Good point.
neurodivergent person, and I think that it makes us beautiful people.
Oh,
It
absolutely. I love my
yeah,
mom. Yeah.
yeah,
No, that's a good point. It was just different. She knew
yes,
something different. Yeah.
different,
But
different than what we were expecting.
yes,
Yeah,
yes. A little spicier.
yes,
Um, but yeah, so I'm with this survey, I'm just trying so hard to get this heard. Um, if you don't mind, I will divulge into where I'm at now
yes.
currently.
Please do, please.
A couple months ago, I got a DM. I got many DMs from people all over with like Harvard graduates and like huge people, and they're like, "I love your work. How can I help?"
Oh,
And
good.
I'm like, "My work?" It's the first time like I'm seeing. I'm like, I guess it is my work.
Yeah, you've got some work. You've got work.
So this person was like, I referenced your work in my thesis. And I was like,
Whoa.
oh, okay. Can I see it? And sure
Yeah.
enough, they did. But they also were like, I spoke about this in many White House meetings.
Whoa.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I was like,
What?
yeah, like because Autistic is just me right now.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I have high hopes for it, but it's just me. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm dumbfounded of how many people it seems to strike a chord with. And it shows just how much people want more information and more education and more inclusivity and but
Yeah.
why it's so hush hush and don't talk is beyond me. I don't know.
I don't know either. And I think that, like, as a teacher in the classroom, when, you would see children who just needed more support and we
Yeah.
needed help and we just needed some answers and we had questions and like there's nobody to go to besides
Oh yeah.
the school district, and then the school district has to come in with all of these assessments and like all of these things and all of this, fill this form out and fill this survey out and fill this questionnaire out, and it's great, like we do all of that, but oftentimes it's like then it's just such a long process, and then by the time we do like are able to get a little bit of support for us and the student, like we're worn out because we didn't get the support when we needed it. And then also like sometimes in our program we had to say we're sorry, like if your child, if they take up like 50% or more of one teacher's time during the day, like we don't have the right support for your child. And so like we have to like send them on their way, which is so sad to me because I feel like every child deserves play
Absolutely.
and relationships and like the opportunity to be in those amazing play-based learning situations. And so
And
how can we fix this?
had you had more information, you might have been able to better help and support this child. But
Absolutely.
it's also saying, what about these children that are not autistic or neurodivergent? Like they need care too, you know?
Absolutely. Yes.
So it's a fine line. Like
Yeah.
it's 50% of your time. Like we want we want to spend all the time with this child, the child. We want to give your child our undivided attention.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. Well, and I think the other thing that to kind of like think about too is that um there's maybe this mindset because there is this differentiation between special education and general education. And so like a general ed teacher who's gone to just like training to be an elementary ed teacher or early childhood teacher versus special ed, like we think we don't have the knowledge for this and it's like not on us. And so we don't even try. But like, can we learn and still be able to help and be qualified without that special education degree? Like, can we change that mindset? We're like, we are
Absolutely.
capable of this.
But then that also leads to the question, like teachers, we already have so freaking much on our
Yes.
plate. Like we cannot be expected to also be a special educator by just by training our own selves. You know,
Right.
like, we can't. We're doing all we can, and we are maxed out. And then
Yeah.
being teachers are being like, we want the best, but we don't have the supports. No one's helping us. We're maxed out. You
Yes.
know, so it's a conversation that definitely needs to be talked about more. Less
Yeah.
shame, less stigma. I mean,
Yeah.
it's there's nothing. I do, like, my mind jumps everywhere.
It's
Do you
fine.
mind? I do have a great tip.
Tell
Like,
us.
the number one tip I would say for an autistic child, and of course, everyone's unique. So who knows if this helps, but I hope. So if your autistic student or child is having like a meltdown,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they're really upset, nothing's helping them. The best thing you can do is leave them alone.
Okay.
Stop trying to help them. Because autistic people, again, I'm not speaking for all of us,
Yeah.
but we are very, very, very good at self-regulating ourselves, our emotions, and any input from like a teacher or someone else who is trying to help is just distracting us from self-regulating.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And like this is what the child's just trying to just let them self-regulate. I
Yeah.
mean, within reason, not hurting themselves
Yeah.
throughout. But I I think you might be amazed if you just allow a child the space and
Yeah.
then let him or her rejoin when they're ready.
Okay.
But again, it's preschool and you're play based, I'm play based. I love the play based. What's it going what is this child missing by
Yeah.
self-regulating? They're missing
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah.
They're learning their own how to regulate. That's
Yeah.
important for them.
So
You know,
important.
they're skill developing right then and there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that would be a tip I have. Yes.
Okay, I have a question for you about masking. So, this is like a topic that I just hear coming up a lot in the autistic community, and
Yes.
I've questioned it myself before, but really didn't have a word to put on it, which is masking. So, like when something you have a child with an IEP, and they're like, we're trying to get them to look this person like look this percent of the time into somebody's eyes when they're speaking to them, or like switching their stimming from something to something else. There's like all these like things that they're trying to get children not to
I
do.
know.
And why is that? Is it
That,
because we want them to fit in, or like,
yeah. It's about it's about compliance. And it's awful. It's so flawed and I could cry. But like I've
yeah,
done many research about peer-reviewed papers on this subject and all,
yeah,
and about masking in the classroom and how to help. And wouldn't you know, who's directing the studies and all this? There's not one autistic person in these studies.
yeah,
So it's like it's mind blowing. So that's another like facet of what I'm doing is just researching all this stuff. But getting
absolutely.
back to the masking, it's so wrong. Like it and even some special educators are taught wrong, like by making these kids be compliant. Why the hell do I have to look you in the eyes?
Yeah,
You know? Like
yeah,
why? Um
absolutely.
and
Right.
yeah. And so I'm talking to one of my friend's son right now is in the midst of being assessed, for whatever. And the teacher has a thing about bad behaviors and good behaviors, and they get sticker charts. And I hate that altogether. But
Yes.
yeah, I gave her my fill on that. But I said, what behaviors is this teacher saying are bad? Like what
Yeah.
are we calling bad behavior? Spinning?
Yeah.
That's not really a bad behavior,
No.
So again, these teachers have to learn what masking is, but when are you gonna learn? When?
Yeah.
Like you don't have the time in the day.
So if there's any like parents listening of young
Yeah,
kiddos, the at-home caregivers, I call them guardians, or maybe there's some teachers who are noticing that the IEPs that their students have has a lot of situations where they are trying to mask certain behaviors. What is the best route to go to kind of stand up for that child and say, like, why are we trying to get them to stop doing this, or start doing this when that's not the
yes.
people that they are?
I would question it.
Yeah.
Why? Why? What's the point of this?
Yeah. And where's
Um,
the data behind it? Like, where's
exactly.
the
And
research
then
that shows they need to look a person in the eye for a certain amount of time?
if they show you some research, these parents can then say, "Show me an autistic person that is on this board
Yeah.
that helped."
Yes.
Um, but there is a growing, emergent, lots of little places. They're neuro-affirming care,
Yeah.
they're called. And I'm not sure about insurance and whatnot, but it's very non-compliant based. It's like
Yes.
it's wonderful. So I
I
would
just
tell parents to, yeah.
I just went to a program in San Diego that is neuroaffirming childcare program, and it's mostly autistic children, and then there's your just like the neurotypical children. That's the word I was looking for. There's neurotypical children there too, and it's just amazing, and it's play based, and they have their classroom teachers, but then they also have like behavioral therapists there as well, and maybe some occupational therapists, but there's like 4 to 5 staff members in the room with the children most of the time, and they're there, like those behavior therapists are there full time for those children and like helping them through their whole entire day. It was amazing. And when I walked in, you could not tell who was neurotypical and who was neurodivergent. You couldn't tell. And that's what they wanted. And it was phenomenal. I loved it. It was like, I
Yes,
wish that there was more of those.
absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm all for them. I'm friends with a couple on Instagram. If you want to know any more, you can DM me and whatever.
Amazing.
But yes, I'm happy to help.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Okay, so if you could if you could give any words of wisdom to
Mhm.
a neurotypical person about a neurodivergent autistic person, child or adult, like
Okay.
what advice or tips or words of wisdom would you give?
We want to be included.
Yeah.
We want to be able to stim freely. Like if I'm doing this, if you
Yeah.
see someone doing this in the store, who cares?
Who cares? Yeah.
If they say I'm autistic, be like, oh, cool, because a lot of people don't know what to say to that,
Yeah.
and I find that when I say I'm autistic, they're like, it's not a big deal. No, we
Yeah.
don't care. It's just like my shirt's blue. You
Yeah.
know, so
Yep.
it break the stigma. Please ask questions. You have questions, ask them to us. We're happy to tell you, and include us. Just
Absolutely.
be nice.
Yeah.
Ask our opinions, maybe, on something. We love to help. We love to be included. And the worst thing you could do is probably say like, "Hey, you don't look autistic,"
Yeah.
or "You don't act autistic," because
Yeah.
that's
Hmm.
who they are. You
Yeah.
can't do that to someone, and it's well intentioned, but try not to say that.
Yeah. As being diagnosed with autism when you were in your 30s, how was that for you? What was that process like, and what made you seek it out, and what was the feelings you had afterwards?
Okay, it's a crazy story. One of my students, not in my current school, one of my students was going through the assessment for
Yeah.
autism, and this child had severe needs, like. And I remember coming home one day and not complaining, but just venting about
You were
everything.
exhausted. Yes.
I'm alone. I'm exhausted, and it's this, and this, and this. And I live at home, and my parents were like, "But you did all those things." And at that moment, all three of us were like, "Oh, oh my God,
Gosh.
sane." Because, like I said, I did all these behaviors, but my parents did not know.
Yeah.
And it changed my trajectory, that this little girl, you know?
Aw, yeah.
Yeah, it was mind blowing. Um, a lot of people have imposter syndrome, is what they call it, like going through the system. Am I really autistic or not?
Yeah.
I did not have that. It's valid to have it, but I'm flamingly autistic. I was like, oh yeah, like I have that. So, but it's valid to have imposter syndrome too, and
Absolutely.
autism comes in every different flavor, shape,
Yeah.
size. There's nothing. So
Yeah. Absolutely. It's like snowflakes, like no two are the same.
exactly, yeah,
Yeah. And that's all
exactly,
human beings, really. That's all human brains. Like none of us
right,
are the same. Yeah.
yeah,
We all have our beautiful and we all have the challenges, and that's just being a human being, right?
exactly, yeah.
Yeah. So after you found out and got that diagnosis, how did that change things for you? Did it change things for you?
So it didn't really change a lot for me in the terms of like accommodations and stuff, because I do have accommodations and I have from ADHD. Like
Yeah.
I already have that. So that took a lot of, I don't need medicine. There's no medicine I
Yeah.
could take,
Yeah.
But in terms of mental, it freed me up a lot. My allowing myself just to be who I am.
Mhm.
Like I thought I didn't care before what others think of me, but it was not me. Like this is me,
Yeah.
and I'm happy to be me. So
Absolutely.
so
Mm.
it did a lot of good for my mental health. Yeah.
Absolutely. Have you noticed anything in your okay, so like you are around children a lot because you're a preschool teacher. How
Uh-huh.
has having autism, like how does that affect you in the classroom? Like positively, and like what do you notice that is hard for you?
Mm. I could give you like an amazing story that
Please.
I found amazing too, and this person did too. Again, not on my current school, and all names that change. Everything's
Yes. Yes.
um. So I had a speech therapist coming in and working with this little girl, and the little girl wasn't responding. I forget what they call it, but she wasn't responding to the therapy.
Yeah.
And the therapist was trying all these different things to get this child to engage.
Yeah.
And I was like, I've noticed it's really hot and sunny in that spot.
Mm.
She might be hot. So how about you try moving her? And she did, and then she paid more attention. Like she was just oversensitized by the
Yeah.
heat. She
Yeah.
couldn't focus because she was just focused on I'm hot,
Yeah.
you know? So
Mm.
stuff like that. And there's no training someone. It takes an autistic brain to,
Yes.
like she these special educators are very highly educated in these things, and they're great at their jobs, and we need them, and I love them. But there are certain parts of, you need an autistic mind almost
Yeah.
to fully grasp it. So I wish like more autistics were used in classrooms, like
Yeah.
for teaching educators, like, hey, can you come? I don't know where they would even find something like that, but maybe I can but yes. So
That's really cool. Mm. So you're like, you have just a different eye for things. You have a different mind for things that like somebody who's neurotypical just is not going to notice or see at all.
and likewise, you and other neurotypical people can notice things that
Yeah,
I just don't get, you know?
absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah,
Oh my goodness. Well, I am so glad that you took the time to be here to
I'm
talk
very
to
happy.
us.
Yes.
Tell people where they can connect with you and where they can
Okay.
find more Beth.
Please do. My DMs are always open. I'm very happy to help and talk.
Amazing.
My Instagram is auto-ask, AUT2 ask, ASK.
Yes.
And then there's a link in my bio for the survey. I think you have the link, so you might.
Yes, we'll put it in the show notes for sure.
So feel free to connect with me. I'm happy to chat.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Beth, for your expertise.
Thank
For your
you.
stories, for your vulnerability. I appreciate you
Thank
and the
you.
work that you're doing for our community and children.
Well, I appreciate you too. I love your content. So I'm happy to be here.
Yay. If you liked what you heard today, share this podcast with your coworkers, admin, or maybe even your partner. And I love getting 5-star reviews so more people can embrace play. Hit follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode. Or connect with me on Instagram or my website, KristenRBPeterson.com. Until next time.